Hi Sunflowers, I'm going to be doing another book review. If you haven't seen the title of this video, yes, let's start with the disclaimers. There will be spoiler alerts, and I am going to be diving headfirst into the first spoiler right away. So if you haven't read the book, please leave now and read it, and then come back if you are, like me, not a fan of spoilers. Anyway, the first spoiler is that this is a little sad story. It's a tragic love story. It's Tess of the Obervilles. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's written by Thomas Hardy, and it's a tragic love story. Yes, I have already said that. So if you are not a fan of tragic love stories, please do not read this. If you're not a fan of sad, depressing stories, please do not read this. I am telling you that disclaimer right off the bat. Let's get into my other disclaimers. I will not be doing a play-by-play version, a chapter-by-chapter, page-by-page analysis, nor will I be pointing out the mistakes in the book unless if they are extremely major. I just say my opinions, I just rant a bit, tell you what I liked or what I disliked in the book, or even both. And I will tell you what kind of readers might enjoy this book. I might give a few, hopefully unbiased opinions, my thoughts on the book, basically. That is my review style. Another thing that I want to say is the picture that you see of the book on the video screen, your screen, whichever screen you are watching it in, is not owned by me. I do not own the copyright of the picture, nor do I own the copyright of the music you hear playing in the background. They are all thanks to the internet. And I think we can dive in. I will not be saying the entire story, but I will be telling bits and bits. So again, I am repeating this again. So regular Sunflowers, please do not feel annoyed. But yeah, if you do not like spoilers, please leave. This is a story that I did know that it was a tragic love story going forward. So first of all, for a person like me who does not like tragic love stories, does not like tragic stories, does not like reading them, I do not know why I did it. I think it was because I had heard it was a classic or something like that. So I just read it, knowing going forward that it ended sadly. And I will say a little bit of the story in brief just to get an idea. One thing, and another thing is because I was so invested in reading this, I kind of remember most of it. Tess is an innocent girl. I feel she is really cheerful and playful and is full of life, but she is thrown into a circumstance that is so jarring, so uncertain. And there are points in this book where you realize the unfairness of it all. Is that a word? You realize the imbalance of society. And I know it was written a long time ago, but I see those injustices happening even today. So I think that in a way shows how Tess of the Obervilles is a classic, is an evergreen story, because until these injustices are righted in the world, at least to some extent. We do not live in utopia, I know that, but at least to some extent, if these injustices are righted, I think it would be a better world for all of us, is what I feel. Getting back to the story, like I said, there will be spoilers. So, and another thing is that I think I would recommend this book to young adults and older. So even if you're watching this, I will put it in the title. I would recommend it only for like ages maybe 12 and up. That's just my discretion. That's my opinion. Of course, if there are younger readers, I advise that they take their parents' judgment for that. She's thrown into a situation where she meets a person who likes her. She keeps rejecting him because she doesn't like him. He is Alec de Urberville. I hope I'm saying the name correctly. And she works for his father. Tess is poor. She needs money. She works as a maid, governess, all in one. And the story is kind of chopped there. There is not a proper continuation. The thing that does happen, that is portrayed to us, is that she's back on a carriage back home. She had traveled to a different town for this job, but she's on her way back home. She has several siblings. She has parents who are struggling financially. They have problems with the house, all of that. But she's coming back home for the sole reason that she is pregnant. Now, I think readers can understand that she got pregnant not by her own consent, simply because of the fact that she kept rejecting this person's advances. She didn't like him. And so if she liked him and she got pregnant, that would have been different. But the way that it has been portrayed and written, I do not feel that she liked him. I think she got pregnant through force. So first of all, Tess is a victim now. Really, pretty early on in the story, Tess becomes a victim. And she's already guilty because she has lost her father's horse. Lost in the sense he died, overwork, old age and stuff like that. She wants to repay her father. She wants to do something for her parents. She wants to contribute to the family. She has this baby. She takes the baby. They're a farming family. They're into farming. She continues the agricultural works. Despite all that, despite the troubles that she faces, she still keeps up her spirit and works hard for the family, but she loses the child as well. So the child has lost its life, and there are rumors going around all over town because nobody knows the father. Like I said, it's a probably evergreen story, a classic story that happens. These injustices happen even today. That happens, and then she finds out through somebody, I believe one of her older friends, that there's a job in a faraway city. The same agricultural thing, but this is like a big farmer who will probably pay more. And what's more is she doesn't want her parents to get a bad mark on their name, blemish, because of the things that she has faced. Of course, she is a victim, but still, there is victim shaming going on even today. And I'm sure that the time that this was written, it was even more. So she goes to the other farm, the bigger farm. She starts working there, and she's the most hard worker there. Even the landowner, he is extremely strict, but he realizes she's a hard worker. She is exploited a bit because of her sincere efforts, but she does do that. And even if the other farmers, the helpers, even if they drink, she doesn't indulge herself, but she works hard because she wants to earn that money and send it back home. And she does keep sending it back home, the money that she's earned. She keeps her maiden name whenever she's introduced to anyone. And she keeps saying that maiden name. And there is another fine man who comes into her life. And this fine man falls in love with her. And she keeps keeping him at a distance because she doesn't want to enter that life again. She's already been through turmoil with that state of life. So she doesn't want to do that. She keeps him at a distance. He doesn't listen. He persists, and he's a gentleman. And many other girls who are working on the farm actually have crushes on him because he's so charming and gentlemanly and all that. Despite all that, he likes Tess. He likes her grace. He likes her sincerity. He likes her hard work. and he falls in love with her. And after a while, even she realizes that he is a gentleman and he would not harm her, so she accepts his love, and they get married. She meets the parents, and her parents are unable to come because of circumstances, but she meets the boy's parents, and Tess and the boy get married. And after they get married, like, the whole farm is happy for her. They are all rejoicing and everything. And they go for their honeymoon to a place where he is planning to buy a house for them to live in. And I think it is the first night or something, when he tells her that he had slept with a woman earlier to marriage, and that but he said that doesn't mean anything. It was just a fling, and it meant nothing. And he said that I felt so bad that I was keeping it from you. I wanted to tell it to you. Because he said that, just because he said that, Tess, who was also feeling guilty that she hadn't said anything, and she had told him previously that she had a dark past, but he kept saying that, no, it's not possible, you're too pristine, you're too wonderful, you're too perfect. But because he said that, she thought that he would sympathize with her, is the feeling I got, the way that it was portrayed. It wasn't said in so many words, but that was what I understood. She thought he would sympathize with her, and she told him what happened. Now, for you listeners out there, I'm sure that you understand that she was obviously raped. She didn't do this out of her own will. She didn't do it out of her own fancy. She was not in love with that guy who had made her pregnant. And she tells it in so many words to her husband, but he starts victim blaming her. And she tells him she had the baby, that she lost the baby. She tells him her hardships, and still he insults her, he belittles her, and eventually she leaves the place. She leaves the place because clearly there are no words spoken between them. Clearly there's no love there. Her husband starts avoiding her. She realizes that this is not possible, this cannot go on, and divorce in those times was very complicated. I think it still is, but in olden times it was even more complicated. She just leaves. She leaves and she travels to a different farm, a farther farm. She leaves contact. She doesn't tell anyone except her family and then his parents or something. She just leaves a note every now and then. She sends letters to her own parents. She goes back and forth home and then this far land, and then she just stops contact with everyone unless if it's her parents she's sending money. She goes to a different farm. She starts working there, and unfortunately she meets Alec d'Urberville. Now, Alec d'Urberville is presumably a changed man because there was a priest who changed him. That priest, we find out later, is someone Tess knew. And Alec has become a perisher himself, and he's advocating for people to change their lives for the better and all that. And he sees Tess one day when she was going back to her husband's her in-laws' place to talk with them or something, and she loses courage and something like that. And he is in the same town. He sees her. He pursues her again. He runs after her. And clearly, even though he has presumably changed, he hasn't changed, because he pursues her and he says, look, your life is gone. She tells him, I think, or he finds out, and he's like, look, your life is over. Your life is ruined anyway. Why don't we just get married? And she rejects again. This is the guy who raped her. She cannot accept it. Clearly. But anyway, cut to her husband, being a changed man, realizing the injustice he did to her, he searches for Tess, and he finds out that she's she's Tess d'Urberville, and d'Urberville is a known name, and he's so happy that she has retained the name, because actually she had mentioned that they were originally d'Urbervilles, and then they became Derbyville, Derbyfield or something. I'm probably saying the name wrong. I apologize. But he is so happy that she has retained her old name, that the honor of her old name. And he goes up to this huge mansion and he sees her, and she tells him that he's too late. And she tells him that she married Alec. And she says, if only you were sooner, if only you were sooner. And she's so heartbroken and so sad, because she sees that this guy was so nice to her, so gentlemanly, such a pure soul, but because he was late and due to her circumstances, because of the money problems, she had married Alec. We aren't shown that bit until she just says that she married Alec. And her husband goes away not knowing what to do. He had stayed in a hotel searching for her. And Tess just is heartbroken, is sad. We are again not shown what happens, but there's a loud sound upstairs, and we see Tess running out, and she just goes in search of her husband, wherein she tells him that she killed Alec d'Urberville. The police are searching for her, because in those days, clearly killing your husband is a crime, no matter how bad he is. And I think, again, some things don't change, because, yeah, let's not get into that. I will become seen as politically incorrect. Anyway, she goes with this nice man, and they find a farm which is not inhabited as presently. He thinks that we might be able to one day own this farm, but until then, let's sneak in and stay here for a few days. And with the few coins they have, they managed to survive for a few days there. And finally, Tess realizes that it's over. Like, she has to surrender. It's over, and she somehow gets the strength to reach a place where actual verdicts happen. Again, it's really vague there, but I think it's somewhere where they like hang people or stone people. It's a punishment place. She says, I can't go on anymore. And there's one of her friends who was really loyal to her from the very first farmland, and she keeps in touch with the couple, and her husband and this friend go, and they hear the last shot that she's guilty, and it ends there. And it's, like I said, it's a tragic story. I've left out a lot of parts. I just told you the gist that I felt like telling. Like I said, it's only for young adults and above. It's a really tragic story. What I do want to say is that a lot of injustice happened because she was not treated equally to the husband. Her husband had done, I might be biased by saying this, but her husband had done a graver fault than she, because he did it out of consent. Tess was a victim in the case, but even though she was a victim, she was shamed and blamed, and eventually she was punished as well. So in that scenario, I think that there should have been a little more justice leaning towards Tess' case than the other way around. This ends my review. I know it was rather somber and rather long-winded, but I wanted to do that. I wanted to make this story known, and if you haven't read it and want to sympathize with Tess, please do. Please read it. It's written very beautifully. It's really tragic, but it's written really well. Considering all circumstances, it's very well written. I hope you liked this video, and if you do, please share with anyone you feel might enjoy this review. And comment below if you have any other books that you'd like me to read and review. Any other comments are also welcome. They will all be read and appreciated. Your subscription is an encouragement. Ring the bell to be notified of when I will be uploading a new video. Until next time, goodbye, sunflowers.